Actually, Chud's Avowed is doing totally great. You see, Obsidian Entertainment is very happy with sales so far. Oh, I doubt that. I very much so doubt that. That sounds like a rather massive cope and seethe to me, particularly considering that apparently the game took 6 years to develop and 2 reboots. Oh boy. Okay, we're going to get into that in a second, but just to illustrate how happy Obsidian is with their game, well, there was a thing going around here. I was given a tip by the Real Zartak, thank you very much, by the way, sir, that apparently somebody had been banned from their Steam forums, which is well within the developer's right to do. They run essentially their own Steam forums, and they get to ban whoever they want there for whatever reason they want. But the reason was a little bit unique, as the person claims to have been banned for anti-DEI behavior, which is not allowed on their forums. Oh, really now? Why were you banned? Anti-DEI behavior. It's worthy of a little bit of a medal, honestly, in my opinion. So, the screenshot quality here is atrocious because I took this from a YouTube video, as initially there was just a picture of the ban reason, which does indeed read, "You have been banned," or what's going on, "user was found engaging in anti-DEI, which is not tolerated on this forum," at the bottom here. Now initially, I was rather skeptical because that sounds idiotic, even by current day standards, even in a company as obviously progressive as we won't hire white people, Obsidian Entertainment, but it seemed too much. Well, there was then a YouTube video released which showed the entire conversation, plus the screenshots and the ban reasons, so this could still be faked, but it'd be difficult. I also looked up the name of the guy who had supposedly been banned, who then created another thread thereafter, which is this one here, my sincere apologies, and he does not appear to be on the Steam forums for Avowed anymore. As I did a search for him, he's no longer there. So it seems like he came back after his 48-hour or 24 hours ban, which is also mentioned in one of these screenshots here, that'd be back on the 21st of February, 4:55 p.m. And he decided to kick the hornet's nest again, for which he was then presumably banned for further DEI reasons thereafter. So, yeah. Political community moderators, what a surprise in this current day and age, eh? As the thread too appears to be gone. The thread in which he originally talked is still there, but the thread that he, brought up and was apparently, supposedly, I presume, banned for again, for anti-DI reasons, is not there. So, honestly, it feels like the developers are a bit butthurt, honestly. It very much so does, and yet they're totally happy with their sales. Okay, let's talk about that for a second, right? Took 6 years and 2 reboots, and in this article, they even talk about that they had a pretty large team initially, and now they claim to have had, I think, 200 plus people working for them, and they mentioned that earlier they had 180 odd people working for them. So a large team, we're talking excess of 100 human beings, right? Working for the 6 years and then grew even larger with 2 reboots, right? Well, there's another game that did that, Dragon Age the Veilguard. It too was in development for I think shorter, for 5 or 6 years, I think. And it too had multiple reboots, and even though it peaked at 89,000 players, which relatively speaking to the size of the franchise and the amount of people working on it at the time, was not only assumed by us to be a failure, but made evident to be one by the fact that EA then gutted the writing department and threw them out on the streets. So, if that was a flop, I really don't think Avowed's peak at 17,490 is anything to be happy about, which does indeed appear to be the highest peak that we are likely to see. Pure, undiluted copium. And I want to point out as well here, in all due likelihood, had they stuck with the original vision, it would have done way better. So let me show you something here. Let me show you something rather interesting. This is the Avowed announcement trailer. This was from like 4 years ago, damn near 5 now, I think. And I'm just gonna show you this here, right? And just you've seen some of Avowed from my stream on it, right? Look at this. This was apparently intended to be sort of kind of like a very Skyrim-esque style game, possibly with multiplayer. It was supposed to have action, cool stuff, adventures, deep dark dungeons, mysteries, which didn't really appear, frankly. It had the promise of a big, epic, cool world, you know? And this was the trailer that got me excited originally, like, wow, okay, you've got knights fighting, you've got undead skeletons, you've got archers shooting at hordes of the living dead, you've got this huge underground Mines of Moria-esque place, right? Wow. And you know, this place looks awesome. The guy pulls out his sword, it's glowing, and he makes a sign in the air to bring up magic, right? As some mysterious creature, some power awakens in the deep. That looks really cool. And it reminds me a lot of, Might and Magic Messiah, one of my favorite games ever, and still the game with the best melee combat in video game history, okay? Amazing stuff. So I was like, wow, okay, Skyrim, but with better magic, better swordplay, and an all-new, cool, and awesome-ass world with enormous Mines of Moria-style set pieces and Balrogs and crazy shit and armies of undead and fortresses, like, yes! And what did they end up with? Well, here's the trailer for the pre-order version. Holy shit, right? Now, okay, sure. An initial teaser trailer is always... its representation of the final product is always going to be a bit, diffuse, but... holy shit. It's like they were basically producing Skyrim, right? 6 years ago, they were making Skyrim, which even then it was like 6 years after the release of Skyrim. As people tend to forget, but Skyrim is like 13 years old. It is actually a rather old video game, which really does feel like it dates me, but details. And so they started working on this 6 years after that again, thinking like, okay, we can do that. But then the cultures was shifting, the left appeared to be in complete ascendancy, nobody seemed to be able to stop it, and they're like, oh Jesus, okay, we can't do this. We can't make a cool ass action RPG, which by the way, 47,000 upvotes, 752 dislikes, 2,900 upvotes, 22,000 dislikes. We can't make that cool-looking game. Let's make a flowery, dumb game filled with mushroom zombies and ugly women. Yeah! That's where the winds are turning. That's how we're gonna have economic success and a huge player base in the future. About that. About that indeed. Okay, this is another reason as well why the Skyrim comparison is actually entirely fair. I mean, I kind of brought that up in the previous video that, like, there's, you know, it's a much bigger franchise, Bethesda, much more pedigree, etc., but they were trying to make a Skyrim. They were attempting to make a Skyrim killer. They entered into the development process with the intent of creating this. This was what they wanted to make, okay? And this looks so very Skyrim-y. This is what they wanted to make initially. And then they ended up with this for, I guarantee you, political reasons. Absolute ideological capture here. Like, just look at these characters. Unquestionably so. They thought themselves that, again, the left was absolute dominant, there would be no changing it, therefore we can't make a cool game about cool things, we gotta make a cringe one. And they succeeded in making a cringe game, and no amount of copium about how they're totally happy with their sales is gonna change that fact. If Dragon Age Origins with a much better pedigree, a much better named studio behind it, etc., could still be a flop with these numbers due to a 5-year development cycle with comparable numbers of people? Yeah. This ain't going well, and I would not at all be surprised if we'll start seeing layoffs happening at Obsidian Entertainment quite soon. Perhaps, Microsoft will hold on to them, thinking that they can recapture their glory days, that they might be able to push out a Fallout New Vegas again, but layoffs have been awfully frequent as of late. We just came off an entire year of mass layoffs. Even this year as well has followed on with quite a few more, and this is not the kind of showing that Microsoft is going to be looking for, I don't think. Depending on, it could be that its Game Pass numbers are amazing, bear in mind that particular caveat, but, well, they're kind of eating their own here, because if this does go on Game Pass, and it, doesn't really earn as much money because it needs to pay off the studio, Obsidian Entertainment, but if they've got some unique agreement with Microsoft, of course, Game Pass and so on, the earnings from that are likely to be pitiful at best, and at worst, actually detrimental to Microsoft as a company, so, yeah. I feel like Obsidian is on thin ice right now, but we'll have to wait and see. Until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I do hope to see you all again soon. Till then, have a good day.